Hello and welcome everyone to Artist Interactions. I'm Gargi and I'm going to be your host for the evening. And today we're going to be talking to Masterplants Orchestra, and they make music with plants. I'm super excited to talk to them. Sutradhar is right now running an entire campaign called A Million Stories, and a part of that campaign right now is Heart to Earth, where we are trying to reconnect with nature, trying to be aware, trying to understand what is happening around us and how we are all connected to it. So, as a part of that campaign, we got in touch with Masterplants Orchestra, and they are doing something very interesting, and they are doing something that I hadn't heard of before. And oh, there. Hi,
Hey, namaste, Gargi.
Hi. So we're going to start with a little bit about yourself before we move on to Masterplants.
Okay.
About where you're from and what you are doing in India right now.
What am I doing in India? Where am I from? Okay, let's start from the beginning. I'm born in Copenhagen, Denmark. I have a background with sound and music, studying various like sound engineering and working with music in different ways. And then after a certain point in my life, I've been moving to Italy, to Damanhur, the community that is there. It is a so-called socio-spiritual community. It is the grandmother of all of the communities in Europe. It's almost 45 years now that they've been building it. They have people live there. We're about 500 citizens who live there together and create a sort of a laboratory for the exploration of the human potential, I guess you can say. So, but to move along with the plant music in this context, this is the community that also invented the plant music back also around 40 years ago. And when I came there, in the beginning, I didn't really enjoy it so much, the plant music, the first times I heard it. But I thought it was incredibly interesting. And after I spent around 6-7 years in the community, we started developing a new instrument, which is the one that you see here, the big guy here. And this has been able to take the plant music to a whole new sort of level. And we've been able to then go on tour. I've been touring the United States, Denmark, and then India since November last year. And that's what I'm doing in India. We were playing at a some festivals here in Goa. Then we went to Bangalore. Then we were in Mulchi Lake at One Earth retreat and played a concert around Pune just before the lockdown. And then we were fortunate enough to come back to Goa before the lockdown.
So what attracted you to plant music in general as a concept?
Yeah, well, first I would say the idea with plant music is to, through technology, sort of remind humanity, a humanity that sometimes seems to be a little bit going off the track, to remind humanity and ourselves that it is possible to reconnect with nature in creative ways. And in this way, the plant music sort of stimulates that creative relationships that human beings have had with nature forever. You know, everybody, all of us comes from nature, no matter what city we're born in. So that is the whole idea, is to sort of reconnect or remind humanity about our creative connection with the nature that is around us. And how plant music works is quite simple. I have it all hooked up back here. So I'll show you one of the more simpler devices that are invented in Damanhur.
Okay.
So this is one of the devices that are on the market right now. This is called the bamboo. And what it does is that it has two electrodes. One electrode goes in the ground.
Okay.
Okay, this one, this kind of sticky thing. Okay, and the other electrode goes on to the leaf. Wait, here, it's like a clip.
Right.
Okay, And then we send a very small electric current into the plant to measure the plant's own electrical current. So the plants, just like human beings and many other beings, they use electricity to send information within their bodies. And this electricity that they use, we listen to this, and then we convert it into musical notes. I don't know if there's any musicians in the who's listening now, but it's done through a small algorithm inside here, and then the plant can change the musical notes by changing the surface resistance in their plant bodies. Okay, so this means that, am I going too fast?
No, it's
a little bit.
It's wonderful. It's taking a minute to digest the whole thing of.
Yeah, no, we'll make an example, and then you can hear it. So, and then after our talk, we can, I will show you like the full potential of the technology that we have going. So, but with this, we then interpret the resistance. If it is a low resistance, you know, a current has like a tension, you know, it's a high tension or a low tension. The same is in the resistance. Like when you measure a blood pressure, for example, you measure the resistance in the veins also to the blood. So it's the same sort of thing that's going on here, which is then converted into MIDI notes and read by a synthesizer. This means that the plant can control how high the note goes and how low it goes. So it goes like ba 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 ba. So we put it into a human musical system, which is called the scales or the ragas or whatever we want to use. And then the plant can sort of play within the human musical system. And this allows for human musicians to be able to jam with the plants, because we're limited by the human musical system because it's something we invented. So first of all, we impose the human musical system on the plants in order for us to play within a certain framework. Because if we don't do that, the plants, it just sounds really crazy, because they don't have the same divisions of notes as we have, for example. So their original music is more like a so so therefore we divide it and give it different scales. Okay. Oh, now there's some kind of bell sounds. So
there's a wind chime.
Masterplants. Oh, that's wonderful. So a concert looks like this. Can you see we have a bunch of electrodes? Okay. Is that visible?
Yes.
On the plants, this goes into these wires. Okay. Right. You have to say yes, because I can't see what you see.
Yes.
And then this, then this one divides each plant will be given a root note, like a root note on a piano, you know, the ground note.
Right.
Now I will call them C, D, G, whatever. You call them sa, re, ga, whatever you have over here.
Right.
And then they will be given a scale. Yeah, the 7, 8, 12, how many you want to. Then they will be inside a scale, so we know more or less where it is moving. And then each plant has a high and a low note, so some plants can play really bassy things, some plants can play really high things, and then they have different rhythms as well. Right. That then goes into the computer over here.
Yes.
Okay, goes into the computer, into the cable, and then each plant has a track. So on each track there's an instrument. Okay?
Oh. Yeah.
So if I press play, the plants are going to start playing, and you can see that each plant is playing something. And I'm going to leave the sound for later, because then you can hear during the stream. I can do a better quality. And then I control the program. through these controllers here, so I don't have to be like a nerd on a computer.
On right. So
Cool.
so the major difference between the bamboo device and the Symphony one is the number of plants that can be connected and what all can be controlled, right?
Yeah. So from what the bamboo does, right? So what the bamboo does is that you basically just take it home and you put it on a plant, and it has a small speaker and it has a small synthesizer, and it interprets the plants, so it just plays at your home. It's easy to use. It has a few parameters you can change. You can change the sounds, you can change a few scales, you can change various rhythmical situations, and that's it. It's a very handy, very easy to use, a lot of fun device for anybody who just wants to pick it up.
So,
the Symphony device, yeah?
Are you, while we are talking about the bamboo device, yeah, I mean, Toshal's asking, can you learn this, or are you, is the device sold
no problem.
Or like,
yes, so really anyone can learn this. So absolutely anybody can learn this. You're welcome to Shalgandi to write me or Masterplants Orchestra here on Instagram, and I can show you like the introductory, just like where to go to get in contact with people. There are groups on Facebook who are doing this, and of course the people in the community. And then no problem, like depends on where you want to start out. If you want to start out with the really nerdy, geeky part of building your own devices, or if you want to just like get the bamboo, or if you want to like do interspecies. We're also looking for artists to do collaborations with all the time. So if there's some of you out there who wants to try this out to collaborate with us, we're also
a lot of people
welcoming that. So I'm just gonna play a little bit with the bamboo.
Yes.
Just so we can hear how now it's hooked up to the aloe vera here. You see it in the camera. We should quieten our sound to hear the music of the plants better. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's a good idea to stay in silence, you know. And also just to listen to your thoughts around plants, and also to, you know, when you take a walk in a park or in nature, you know, most people feel better after that. So it's very simple. There's no hocus pocus really. So I'm gonna turn on the
yes, please.
The aloe vera, and she's probably playing. She's been playing a little bit today, and I will just shut up. Cool. Can you hear the sound?
Yes. It's wonderful. Wow. It's so peaceful.
Yeah, it is. It's not, well, I guess, yeah, it's not like, it's not a lot of metal going on, or they're not. So the bamboo, so we explained the bamboo, and now we can explain the Symphony, which is the, we kind of explained that before. It just has more plants. It has more complexity within the music. So there's just more parameters, more musicality to explore. but it is also a little bit, it's like we built this ourselves with the help of a couple of engineers, first in Denmark, and now the Greek engineer has taken over. And he's an absolute genius, so we're very lucky to have found him. And we're just trying to add complexity while also adding the element of interaction, so that it's fun to play with, and it's fun to be there and being part of that link that links humanity and our own humanity. Every time we play, we're like, whoa, it's interesting.
The idea for making music with plants for y'all originated from the concept of connecting with nature, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
it. More than the technology aspect of it, it was more about being able to connect with nature and to bridge that gap between humans and plants and other species, right?
That's exactly it. So the nature, the technology is just the means to show this, you know, to reconnect. And it's an incredibly limited technology. It might sound like it's really amazing, and it is totally amazing.
It does for a layman like me that doesn't know much about technology. It sounds crazy. It's like you're talking to plants and they're talking back to you.
So yeah, but then again, I will just take it one step further. Wow, this thing here. What this technology is only as complex as we can make it, you know. So what we're building new devices right now. We are building a new prototype that will give the plant more control over the music, because right now it only has control over the note, you know, to go from low to high.
Right.
Okay, or back down to low or wherever within the scale system that we give them. So what we're developing now with the new device is that we are giving the plant control over new parameters and even over the composition of the music, so it can choose which rhythm to use, it can choose which scales to use, it can choose where to play on the piano, not just within our limits, but there will be like the composer plant, not just the musician pushing the piano buttons, but also composers. So we have a great engineer in Greece who is working on our new device right now, and we came up with this device actually when we came to India, and we saw that the devices that we have here are incredibly expensive. So we wanted to do like a low cost and very advanced device for musicians and more creative people, because these
to make it more accessible.
Make it more accessible because of the price range, but also more complex. So that if you are a musician or an artist, you can go into it and really explore what the plants can do with music.
Right,
where
compose
these
with
devices,
them, not just play with them.
Yeah, exactly. Compose with them and see what they would choose in various scenarios of playing music, not just up and down on the note scales.
Right.
On the scale.
So how much does a difference in species play a role of a plant? I mean, different plants play different. How much, like, different plants play different music? Is that a thing? If it's a different type of, so how much does that make a difference? I mean, just a question on top of my head.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So plants, it's difficult to quantify when they play what and how they play, because as also our being is influenced by our surroundings and so on, so are the plants influenced by humidity, by the earth they're in, the soil they're in, by the moon phases and so on. So and also there seems to be a sort of way where they get used to playing more, you know? So because plants react to sound and to vibration you know, like everything else. They can't hear as we do, but they do react to vibration. So it seems that after a little while, they become sort of conscious of them playing something, and we have few instances where they are actually repeating the phrases that the humans are playing, and 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 it's a very interesting thing to explore. But they play very differently all the time, and depending on how much freedom we also give them, because we can give them full freedom within the musical system, and they just play. It sounds really weird, and or we can like really limit them and only give them a few notes to play, and then they will always be within that. But it's difficult because to understand also because we're not used to hearing that kind of music, you know.
Right.
So we might not be able to sort of perceive the things that they're actually doing. So it takes a little while to listen to.
So where does the whole orchestra part of it come in? So how many of you are part of the orchestra, and how do performances happen?
So performances usually happen with somebody being really enthusiastic and inviting us.
Right.
And then depending a little bit on the place that we're in, I'm the full-time sort of torch holder for the project. Usually, sometimes my brother is also one of the founders of the project. He's a multi-instrumentalist, and right now he's back in Denmark. Well, yeah, not so much, a little bit, yeah. We definitely support each other in it. And he plays like many different instruments. He was here in India as well during the tour here. He plays the tabla, the flute, the guitar, and he's an incredibly sensitive being with respects to the plants, because other than just being there and listening to the music and say, okay, it's playing da da da, there's a sort of sensitivity that is opened up, like a field. And then we play with local musicians. You know, in the States we were playing with local people there, people who are a little bit skilled in listening, and maybe even who are able to improvise a little bit. Indian musicians are amazing improvisers often, so it's been fun also to play with some of the people from here.
It's very interesting.
So because the plants are always improvising, we never know what they're going to play. They're playing within the parameters we give them, but we have no clue what they will play when we play with them.
Covers of your songs.
Well, I would love that. That would be really fun, but I have no idea how that would go. It's not repeatable. It's not repeatable. The settings on the computer and on the devices are repeatable, so we can give them the same scales and the same sort of parameters. But what they play is always different. It's always different.
As artists, it's wonderful to be able to do something new and something different and be so dynamic with your art is amazing. I mean, one of the I wouldn't say perils, but one of the things of being a performing artist is that a lot of times you have to do the same thing again and again because the audience likes what it likes, right? But
of course.
But with this, it's amazing that they are able to do something different every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of humbling also, because you can never say, hey, can you play that note again? That was really nice when you played like this. It's just not possible. So you sort of just have to go with the with the moment.
Right. So I had a very basic question. How, when bands go on tours, they go with their band members and their instruments, and it's this whole parade that goes out. So when you travel, do you travel with your own set of plants, or is it something that you get locally and that, you know, I mean, how does, or do you just go with like one bag and the symphony?
With a bag of plants? With the devices, yeah. So we tried in the beginning when we had just finished the device. We started to travel a bit in Italy with some plants, to play a few concerts and do some lectures and explanations. by the way, we've been playing in schools here in India. We've been playing in wonderful and amazing crowds for children as well, big crowds in
That's
Bangalore,
very nice.
and we're doing it also for educational purposes, just so everybody can get this experience. But going back to transporting
That's
plants,
wonderful.
don't.
That needs to be taught in school as
Oh yeah,
opposed to a lot
it's
of
coming.
very unnecessary dates that they teach us. I guess this is something that
Very
really
what?
needs to be a lot of unnecessary dates that they teach us. So
Oh
as
yeah.
opposed to that, this sounds wonderful. I'd be very excited if I was taught this in school.
Yeah, so we hope it's exciting as well. It's been exciting for us, definitely presenting it to all the amazing children here in India, also in the States and so on.
Right.
So, and we're definitely going on with that as well. So about transporting plants, plants are, if we look at them in nature, they're very stationary beings. They move relatively little compared to us. They do move,
They're quite rooted.
but it's not so, they're really rooted, healthily rooted, I would say. So we noticed that when we were traveling with plants, they weren't doing very well.
Oh.
Which is why that in our material now, when we go out to play, we're asking for local plants to be at the spot when we play, because they're just not, it's just not a healthy thing for them to do that. Some might be better than others. After we saw that, we just sort of stopped it. And it's also, it would be cool to have like a big bus filled up with plants and like a big hippie van and driving around the world. But it's just, maybe when our budget is a little bit bigger, we can travel with
it
plants.
must be interesting even for you to connect with local plants and see what they have to offer, right? So it must be something new every single time.
Yeah, so that makes it even more complex, because we get to meet more new plants every time, and they make completely different music, so it's a lot more fun. But there are like types of plants who are prone to play more. For example, cactus plants, and plants that have a lot of water inside their bodies, like the aloe vera. They conduct electricity better. So in that sense, because of the limitations of the electric circuits that we're using, the electricity that we use, some plants play a little bit better, and not better, but just a little bit more, because they interact with the technology better than other plants. Yeah, so that's about it, I guess.
This has been very interesting. How does knowing these abilities of plants change the way people treat them and view them?
Well, so I can go.
Yeah, just to add to that a little bit, the audience perspective, right? What are the sort of reactions that you've gotten after performances, live performances, from people, and a few stories about that I guess.
Yeah, so the basic reaction is like,
that's me right now. I'm still like,
it's like, what? And you haven't even, I don't know, did you hear it? You maybe heard the video, but in that video it's the plants that are playing. So that's that's part of it. And it just has a sort of organic feel. It seems to me, I can only speak from my own experience of what I see in people, but everybody will have their own experience, and that's also the power of it being an art and a performance artist, that we don't go out and we talk for hours about electric currents and blah blah, we and make graphs, and we can do that as well, all the nerdy boring stuff, but all giving people that experience of being in the field, in a sound field that is played by plants. It's a very interesting experience to see how people react, because most people seem to be going into a meditative state, or some sort of relaxation, or letting go sometimes of some things that bubble up, So there is some magical aspect to it that I have no clue how to explain. Obviously, with my human intelligence, incredibly limited.
Right,
But usual
in
response is
terms of
positive.
right, so right now the campaign that we're running on Sutradhar is sort of to make people realize how their how their stories eventually affect the entire world, right? Then the nature around them, the kind of lifestyle that they lead, and how that affects everything that is around you. So, in those terms, now that I know that plants can make music, um, my probably way of looking at plants and interacting with them is going to be very different. So, on those lines, what sort of an experience has that been? In terms of, have people come up to you and expressed anything like that, or
Yeah, absolutely. But then there's two aspects of this I feel to address. Like, there are people who are normally open to this kind of stuff, and then they was like, wow, this was great, and now it's like a going into another dimension. We already know it's there, but because we live in the rickshaws or in the scooters or in front of our computers or wherever we're living, we sort of civilization and society are slowly taking us away from those natural environments where we grew up in. So now that it's rare that we even have animals around us. Maybe we have street dogs, or we maybe have a parrot in a cage, or
yeah.
So it's completely insane how those things are going away. And fortunately, there are people like you and your organization as well that are now saying, okay, wait a minute, let's turn the boat around and let's try to go back into that nature. And that's how you also come up with meeting crazy projects like ours, because there is now a need and a tendency in especially in the newer generations to come back and to reconnect with that nature and to reawaken our inner divinity and go in, reconnect with ourselves and our roots, our innerness. And that has a lot to do with nature, with environment, and how we are connected to that. And so this music sort of bridges a gap. It can do that, but there is a tendency, I would say, in people to habitually fall into the systems where we live. Because the systems where we live, they don't stimulate, they stimulate the wanting to go back into nature, but not because they present you with nature, but because they present you with the opposite.
Right, right. It's more about taking pictures for your Instagram than actually connecting with nature, even when you're around nature.
Yeah, exactly. And you can do that with your plants. There are plenty of techniques, and I guess a sort of in Denmark we call it a work damage. When you do something for a long time and then you have like a backache or something. In this case, with the music, plant music, you sort of like start talking to the plants and start thinking about how they're doing, and so the work damage, it's not really a damage, but it's a sort of plus where you start really seeing, and you can even sort of, I don't know, now that's my own personal interpretation, and I don't have any scientific proof of that, but it becomes a sort of sensation, you just become like aware of your environment a little bit in a more sensual way, without with it, meaning with your senses and also with your energetic field, not just with your ears and with your but we have so much capacity for sensing our environment, which is stimulated by this type of music.
That's
oh my God,
that's beautiful. I think that has left everybody that's listening to rethink all of their interactions with nature. So
yeah, go for it. I can only wish you good luck, and I'm really happy that a lot of people are tuning in, because it means that a lot of people wants to make a change as well.
We've managed to hold their attention. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Yes. Now that I know this, I love the idea that when I'm in the midst of plants and trees, there is a kind of music that's playing amongst them?
Okay, so they're always playing. They're always vibrating. Everything is vibration.
Yeah.
What we're doing, everything here, all the plants are always playing that cosmic music. Within
Even the
with,
rhythm that we know as rhythm has come from nature.
oh yeah, everything has
So-
rhythm. Waves has rhythm. Everything has rhythm and waves. So when you are in that, what we're doing with the technology is just transforming those natural vibrations into something that we can hear. It's nothing else. Something that we can understand. Music is a language that humanity has invented, or it is a subdivision. It is a way of dividing the vibrations that are already in nature into something that we can interact with, because it's so overwhelming. Nature's vibration is everything.
Right.
So
and it's
we have to make it, we have to make it smaller for us to be able to interact with it, because we're so infinitely small and and ridiculously limited.
And
So
we're all very grateful that you are basically bridging the gap between plants and humans, and just providing a free flow of conversation. And it's beautiful. Thank you so much for taking this up as like a full-time thing that you're clearly so dedicated towards. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, having us. I mean, it's not always been.
Yes.
I'm just the human component, and then there's the whole technological madness.
The entire band behind you.
The plant band.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this. This has been wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us.
And a lot of fun
anytime.
as well. So.
Yeah. Thanks. That was a lot of fun. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll see you just in like 2 minutes when we hook up the music.
Yes.
Namaste, everybody. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Gargi. Thank you so much.
Bye.